Do you worry about the future? When you think about your life and what may come, do you experience fear and feel nervous that things might not turn out well for you? I know exactly how you feel. I too used to think that my future would not go well and was filled with anxious thoughts over it. However, in this video, I will give you a new way of thinking about your future that will allow you to have peace when you think about it instead of being plagued with anxiety. Hi, I'm Thomas Clements and I run Zenith, a healing ministry dedicated to helping people find healing and grow in their relationship with God. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel to receive more uplifting and encouraging videos like this one to help you in your journey toward hope, healing, and the abundant life Jesus promises in John 10:10. I remember when I was in rehab at 19 years old, I was filled with tremendous anxiety about the future. I would have trouble falling asleep because I could not turn my brain off as it was continuously filled with negative thoughts about my life. I thought that I would never amount to anything, that I wasted my life, and that I would end up very unhappy. It was a dark time for me. Looking back, I see how I could have avoided all that pain. I also understand what caused it. Let's look first at what caused my anxiety for the future, and then we can move on to how we should look toward the future to avoid the dark thinking that I suffered. So here's what I did wrong to end up with anxiety for the future. First, I incorrectly measured success and happiness. I had a lot of misunderstandings about reality at 19, but this one caused a lot of trouble for me regarding my self-worth. My anxiety for the future stemmed from the fact that I thought at the time that worldly success translated to happiness and was the standard to measure whether or not I was doing well. I looked at this measurement, looked at where I was in rehab and drug addiction, and mistakenly assumed that I would never reach the measurement required to have a good and happy life. Next, I attributed too much power to myself concerning my future. Pride is trusting too much in your own resources and not enough in God's. I thought everything depended upon me, and with the way things were going, it seemed like I wasn't going to make it. While I have since heard many stories of men and women rising out of addiction to do great things, I didn't think I had it in me. I also didn't understand that God has done better with worse, and humans have done worse with better. I needed to first meet God, grow in my faith in Him, and then I would discover that there is nothing that our God can't do. I did not see at 19 what I know now. If I had known my future, what I have lived over the past 17 years, I would not have been anxious. I would have been excited. Finally, I willingly overlooked the truth that nothing is impossible for God. I refused to believe that God could move the mountains that were my problems with addiction, sadness, and the negative consequences of my bad decisions. I was just like the Israelites who were at the Red Sea after leaving Egypt and perceiving the waters as a boundary, trapping them and keeping them from progressing towards their dreams. I doubted that the Lord could lead me to mine. I thought I was a lost cause for whom the only possible future was a bleak existence of suffering and failure. I had vaguely heard of the Bible passage that God could do the impossible, but I chose not to believe it. I chose to believe in my fears and doubts instead, which only brought me fear and anxiety. So that is where I went wrong. I simply had incorrect perceptions of reality that left me broken and miserable. Many people are at a place now where they are applying the same perceptions to their future, causing them to arrive at the same conclusions and mental state. To find peace from our anxiety, we must look at our future correctly. We must do the opposite of what I did at 19. Allow me to reword my mistakes to better guide us all to how we must look to our future with peace. First, we must measure success and happiness correctly. Now, to do this, we must pretty much ignore everything we've heard from movies, music, TV shows, some books, and other aspects of pop culture. We need to replace the idea that money, power, pleasure, and fame are the only avenues that will bring us fulfillment. While these things can be fun, I'm sure, we need to realize that true success and true happiness come from another source. To give a quick answer to what we should measure our life by, what will bring true happiness, we can look to love. Not shallow attraction or having various needs met by someone who helps you, but true, sacrificial, unconditional love. Basically, if we can learn to love without worrying about ourselves and what we get in return, we don't need to worry about our future. Next, we need to realize that everything does not depend upon us. We have a great helper with the Lord. He is good, caring, and knows what is best for us. All that He asks for us is for us to trust Him. It can be hard, but when we succeed at this, the outcomes are astronomical. Everything does not depend upon us. Really, the only things that we can control are our actions, how we respond to people and situations, and what we think about. Yes, we can change the world with these things, but we must remember that God is working for us to help lead us to do these things well. Right, next, we must believe that nothing is impossible for God. This is not a belief that anything you want will happen, but a belief that anything can happen. It is within God's power. We need not fear because God can handle anything that comes our way. Furthermore, if we believe in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, where it says, God brings good out of all things for those who love Him, then we can draw the natural conclusion that He only allows what is best for us. Therefore, we are always safe in His hands. Think about it. If nothing is impossible for God, then He can do anything. If He brings good out of everything for His followers, then He has the power and loving kindness to stop all things that will ruin us. Your future is in His hands and will never overwhelm or crush you. Not to say that it might not feel like it will, but it never actually will. Finally, we must be open. In life, if we are constantly closed-minded and expect that what will take place will only be what we want to have happen, then we will be disappointed a lot. We must be open to what God wants. Pairing this with the previous point means that we might not always have our specific desires met, but the greater desires that these things symbolize will always be. For instance, God might not bring you the $1 million that you have been asking for. However, if you put Him and His plan first, even if that's what you think you need to be happy, even if He doesn't give you that money, He will give you the security, excitement, and happiness that you are actually seeking by means of the $1 million. He just might give you these things by an unexpected way, but you will discover that this is much better. Yes, our futures are unknown and that can be scary, but using these points in our view of God and reality will strengthen us and remind us that there is a lot more going on than what we may first perceive. Our lives are not random events of chance, they are intended, they are wanted, and they have purpose. We discover this purpose not by imposing our will on the world, but by listening to God to discern His will and choose with our free will to follow it. Looking toward the future with these things in mind will allow for us to have the peace we are meant to have both now and in the future. You do not need to be afraid of the unknown that is to come because you are reminding yourself of God's presence, power, and control over your life. This is relieving as it continuously reminds you that you are in good hands. Your life is in good hands, and you do not need to be afraid.